This is going to be a new segment that I call Rambling with Taylor, where I'm just going to ramble about dogs. So, something good girlie, go sit. Something that took me an annoyingly long time, like literally only within the last 2 or 3 years, to adopt from my history of working with horses growing up to working with dogs, is letting them watch. Letting them look and letting them use their eyes and look at things. Especially with dogs that can be reactive or anxious dogs, we have a tendency to not want to let them look at things because, for lack of a better term, the dog has trained us that looking at things or at certain things leads to behaviors that we really don't like lunging or barking or growling, and we don't like that happens. And we have pattern recognition skills too, so we start trying to prevent them from looking at stuff. We try to distract them so they don't see the dog coming down the street, or we put a cookie on their nose and lure them past a gaggle of children playing on the playground so we don't bark at them. We ask our dogs to look at us instead of looking at the world. We turn around and walk away from things. We do all sorts of stuff to try to prevent our dogs from looking at things or staring at things, because looking and staring at stuff has a history of leading to behaviors we don't like, and we're trying to prevent that from happening, which is not a terrible management strategy. If it's preventing a behavior we don't like, that's not a terrible management strategy. However, I think we need to remember that a great way for letting a reactive dog or a anxious dog learn a new pattern of behavior is letting them observe the world at a safe distance so they can see that the thing that they thought was scary is actually not so scary. Case in point, this dog is extremely anxious. She's very jumpy. She's very spooky. Not helped by the fact that when we got here to this park, which is on a very busy road, a tractor trailer went over a pothole right behind us in the street as she was getting out of the crate in my van, and it scared the shit out of me, and it scared even more shit out of her, and she has been very much on edge ever since then. She's also historically kind of spooky about loud, big, noisy vehicles and a lot of vehicle traffic like this. So when we got to this park, we immediately took a beeline down the path back here to this field where it's quiet, and there's some people under the pavilion over there. There's some people by the pond fishing. There was a gentleman in this area when we first got here doing Tai Chi, and she's spooked at that big storm drain cover thing there. There's a big yellow fire hydrant around the corner that you'll see in a second that she's spooked at too. And this is where we are going to circle back to how this has to do with horses. Something that we do with horses when we are desensitizing them and helping them to learn how to operate in the big scary world outside of their barn, outside of their paddock, outside of a riding arena. Like if we're going to take a horse outside of the riding arena for the first time, or we're going to take them off property for the first time, one of the things we do to help them be successful in that is hand walking them. So literally doing basically what I'm doing with Evie here, of leading them around on a lead rope like a dog, and letting them acclimate and adjust and check everything out before we ask them to do anything, before we do any groundwork, before we try to get on them. We hand walk them around, especially again, horses that are more green or not used to, being in lots of different places, hand walking them around and letting them watch and look at things. And with dogs, we have a tendency to not want to do that. We have a tendency to want to hyper control them, keep their leash short, encourage them to turn away from things, encourage them not to look at stuff, to look at us instead of looking at the dog across the street or what have you. But I have had a lot of success with dogs doing exactly what I'm doing with her right now, which is, mind you, you've been watching her this whole time. She led me over here. There she goes again. Now she wants to go. This dog is really spooky of cars, big noisy cars, a lot of vehicle traffic. She's very relaxed right now, which is really cool. So I'm not gonna let her lead me into traffic, obviously. I'm not gonna let her make choices where she's gonna get herself into trouble or she's gonna do something unsafe. But if she's telling me, actually, I do feel comfortable enough to get really close to this busy street and check everything out, sick, let's do it, girlfriend. That's about as close as we're gonna get though. And like here, she's like, I actually want to watch the world go by for a sec, so I'm gonna let her. You notice she's not fixating on anything specific. Like her head's still moving. Truck came up that way, startled her a bit. She's not fixating on anything specific. And although she's definitely on alert and she is definitely a little stressy right now, like if you notice, hard to see her eyes with all the floof, but Evie, can we see her eyeballs? No. Oh, because there's a bus. Oh, good girl. But yeah, so not only, yeah, there's the startle. So we see all this nervous body language, the head on the swivel, the big spooky eyes, the flinching and startling. Good girl. I know, it is a bus. Good job. Good girl. So one little boof. Really super girly. But she is an animal. She's allowed to express herself. We're going to make sure your expressions are somewhat appropriate. But like for her, one spooky boof, good girly, is better than her flinging and panicking and barking and lunging and losing her mind. And again, this is after this training session started with her having the ever-living daylights startled out of her by a big semi-truck, like clanging very abruptly and loudly over a pothole, like right behind us, which again scared the crap out of me too. But yeah, like right now she's doing exactly what I was talking about, where she's like, I'm a little overwhelmed. That bus was really scary. This place has been a little bit overwhelming. I need to take a breather and just watch the world go by for a second and remind myself that nothing is a mimic. Nothing is going to turn into a big scary monster in Evie. And I will let her do this. We are far enough away from all the stuff, all the traffic and distractions and whatnot. The reason she barked up there is because this bus actually turned right down this little side street. So it got a little too close for comfort. But back here, we're far enough away that, like, you know, nothing bad is happening for me letting her watch. And then eventually she just decides, all right, actually, you know what? I'm good. We can move on now. Please, for the love of everything, if you have a dog that notices something that they think is concerning and they want to stop and observe it, let them. Provided it is safe to do so, provided your dog is not watching and amping themselves up. Like if they're staring daggers at another dog and their hackles are starting to go up and their body posture is starting to get more forward and you can hear them starting to like growl, encourage them to move on. Now we're not making good choices, but if they're doing what Evie's doing, where she's just stopping and watching and checking everything out and then deciding for herself, okay, I'm good, I can move on now, fucking let your dog do that. Stop trying to control where your dog looks every single second of every single day. If you notice too, she's on a 10-foot line and like I don't know if there's been tension really in this line, but I'm kind of following her lead. Again, I'm not going to let her get herself into trouble. Like we got close to the road up there and I encouraged her to turn and move away, but I want her to have some freedom of movement. I want her to be able to get the willies out of her system by walking around and sniffing rather than doing other behaviors that I don't like so much. Good girly. So like we do need to navigate back to the car because our time is up. So I'm gonna encourage her to keep moving in that direction, but like right now she's looking at the food truck and the people over there. Come on, kiddo. I'm going to let her look at things. She's like, that food truck is kind of crazy. There's a lot of people in the parking lot. There's a guy staring at her right now. Good girlie. Good job. So there we will encourage her to move on after a moment. I know. Good girlie. Let's go. Let's go. Good job. So if you can hear that, that is a person barking. I don't know why people do that, but of course that's gonna... Will you go over this thing? Evie, will you be very brave? Wow, good for you.